Good morning, friends. Yesterday we finished up our series on the full armor of God, and one of the verses we went to was Isaiah 26, verse 3, which says, "You keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you." And today, all I want to do is give you an illustration of this using one of my favorite book series, The Chronicles of Narnia. Now, technically, I suppose I should warn you about spoilers here, but seeing as how the books came out decades ago and the movies are pretty popular even for our younger audiences, I'm hoping you'll forgive me. Because there's one scene from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe that, while it is in the movie, a certain aspect of the scene is described so much better in the book, as tends to happen. And that is when Edmund, who already tried to betray his brother and sisters to the White Witch, has been rescued by the Narnians, and we're not told anything explicit about the conversation, but he's now spent time talking with Aslan. And whatever was said, it is clear that something big has changed in Edmund. He seeks peace with and forgiveness from Peter, Susan, and Lucy, where before he was a vicious and self-centered little boy. Something about his experience with the witch, and especially his conversation with Aslan, has fundamentally changed him. But nothing can change the fact that he did betray his family. It's historical fact. He can be forgiven, and he was. But the enemy, the White Witch, who plays the role of the accuser, the Satan figure, doesn't want to let him or anyone else forget about what he did. So let me read a little excerpt describing what Edmund did as the White Witch approaches and tries to lay her claim on him as a traitor. Now, it's just a short paragraph, and I'll put it in its context to try to give it more weight. But just remember that Aslan, of course, is the Christ figure who has spoken with Edmund and claimed him for his own, and now he comes under attack by the accuser figure. So we read, "A few minutes later, the witch herself walked out onto the top of the hill and came straight across and stood before Aslan. The three children who had not seen her before felt shudders running down their backs at the sight of her face, and there were low growls among all the animals present. Though it was bright sunshine, everyone felt suddenly cold. The only two people present who seemed to be quite at ease were Aslan and the witch herself. It was the oddest thing to see those two faces, the golden face and the dead white face, so close together. Not that the witch looked Aslan exactly in the eyes. Mrs. Beaver particularly noticed this. And here's the part. 'You have a traitor there, Aslan,' said the witch. Of course, everyone present knew that she meant Edmund. But Edmund had got past thinking about himself after all he'd been through, and after the talk he'd had that morning. He just went on looking at Aslan. It didn't seem to matter what the witch said." Friends, I can't believe that I've read this book. I can't tell you how many times. But the very day that I bring you Isaiah 26:3, "You keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts you," that very night I sit with my boys and I read this chapter of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and I come across this passage, and the boys are looking at me all weird and concerned because I'm blinking tears out of my eyes. Because whether C.S. Lewis was thinking of this Isaiah passage or not when he wrote this, that's what is happening here. Edmund was a traitor, and the witch had come to declare that to everyone and to then claim her right to Edmund's life as a traitor. In the same way, the real Satan can accuse God's people, those saved by his grace, saved for no other reason than that Christ claimed us, just as Aslan claimed Edmund. And Satan can say, "That one right there, I know his sin, you know his sin, he deserves death." And what do we do in that moment? When we feel the guilt of our past, even though it's already forgiven, but whether it's the enemy or it's our own doubt that it just comes back up, what do? We take our cue from this illustration from Edmund. We stare Christ full in the face. Let me read that little bit again. We're told, "But Edmund had got past thinking about himself after all he'd been through and after the talk he'd had that morning. He just went on looking at Aslan. It didn't seem to matter what the witch said." Friends, when you feel the accusations of the enemy, the worries of sinful doubt that won't let your sin be forgiven, you look to Christ. Keep your mind on him, your focus on him. Trust that his word is true, his forgiveness is real, his redemption reality, and pay no heed to the enemy. It doesn't matter what he or they say. You keep your gaze fixed firmly on Christ. Trust in him, and even in the midst of Satan's attacks, you will know peace. Friends, I am thankful for Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia. And as wonderful as the land of Narnia is and the character of Aslan is, I'm even more thankful that the true Messiah, the one that really exists, the Lion of Judah, is so much better yet. I love you all very much. Have a good and godly day. And if the Lord wills, I will see you tomorrow.